It's a family affair. It's a family affair.
Of course, we all know her as Sissy from Family Affair, but there's a whole lot more to Kathy Garver than that. We're going to find out about that today, and you can find out, too, in her new book, Surviving Sissy, My Family Affair of Life in Hollywood. Kathy Garver, welcome back.
Well, thank you,
Good
Mike.
to see you, kiddo.
Thank
and your
you.
friend, Mrs. Beasley, there.
Yes. Now, Mrs. Beasley was the original Mrs. Beasley, like I'm the original Sissy.
Absolutely.
And as we were discussing before, she doesn't have her glasses.
Right.
And you so smartly said, well, yes, because she's got her contacts on.
Over here, Mrs. Beasley.
Hello.
I think she just doesn't care anymore. She's seen it all, as have you. My goodness. Now, going back before Family Affair, you were working as a child. As a child, you worked with Robert Mitchum on Night of the Hunter and Charlton Heston in the Ten Commandments.
Not the silent version.
Not the silent version.
Okay, I just want to get that straight, everyone.
But that's... Okay, I don't want to use the word abnormal. That's not the regular childhood. For instance, I didn't work with Charlton Heston and Robert Mitchum when I was a kid. So at what point in your life did it dawn on you, boy, this is a pretty special adventure?
Last week.
Okay, when you read the book.
Yes, I said, golly, what a good book. I never even knew all of those things.
But yeah, and this was not a case of your parents pushing you into show business to relive their fantasies. You come from a very supportive family, but they were supportive of your acting, but they were supportive of other activities, school and that sort of thing too. What got you in as a child?
Well, actually, I started singing and dancing when I was just a wee child. I was 3 years old, and my family had come from Oklahoma. And at that time, Shirley Temple was just the cat's meow. And
Right.
Every mom wanted their little girl to have ringlets and sing and dance and be a star like Shirley Temple. So my mother enrolled me in the same studio where Shirley Temple learned to sing and dance and was discovered, which was the Ethel Meglen Studios in Hollywood. So I got all that training, and then I got an agent when I was maybe 7 or 8 and started working from there.
Wow. And what do you remember about these people, these iconic figures, the Robert Mitchums and the Charlton Heston?
Well, Robert Mitchum was a very imposing character, and I think there may have been somewhat method acting to especially the character that he played in Night of the Hunter, which was this really crazed preacher fellow.
Maybe a murderer, some might
Yes,
say.
some could say that and be quite correct
Yeah.
in that analysis. And I thought, oh, I have, as old as I am, I have a 24-year-old son. And when he was like 9, I thought, oh, he should see what I did when I was a child. And at that time, Night of the Hunter was out on DVD, as is Family Affair and Ten Commandments and most of the things I've done. So I let him watch it, and you know, if you've seen the picture, that this crazed murderer had L-O-V-E and H-A-T-E written on his knuckles. And he would get into this thing, and love fights against hate, and hate comes, but love conquers. And I said, oh, okay, this is, maybe not appropriate, especially when my son came the next day and I said, well, Reed, how did you like the show? He says, oh, it was great. Look, Mom, L-O-V-E-H-A-T-E. And I thought, uh-oh.
You're lucky he wasn't a teenager and got those permanently tattooed on his knuckles.
For sure. He came to me when he was 16, says, I want a tattoo. No, I want a tattoo. No, oh, you want a tattoo? Okay, let's go to the tattoo parlor. Went to the tattoo parlor. And the man said, well, you have to be 18. Oh, I didn't know that. And I said, you know what? I think I'll get a tattoo. How about maybe a little heart right there? He goes, Mom. And he has never gotten a tattoo.
Really?
That's right.
And yet she has Mr. French right here.
And Uncle Bill on the other side. Right. And Mrs. Beasley across my tummy.
You can see that online. Now I mentioned that your parents were very supportive of all your endeavors. You went back to school after doing the child acting thing. You were in your 3rd year at UCLA when you got Family Affair. What was that like? I'm a student burning the candle at both ends. Hey, I'm getting a sitcom.
Well, when I did get that sitcom, which was like in January, I finished out my junior year and then started doing the series. So then when the series was over, I went back and got my degree in speech. That's why I talk so long. I said, will you ever be quiet so I can ask a question? No, because I have a speech major from UCLA.
Is she bothering you, Mrs. Beasley?
I'm sorry,
Yes.
yes, I'm sorry, Mrs. Beasley. I know I'm trying to speak louder so you can hear me. Okay, and then I went to get a master's degree in theater arts. And so I think education is very important. My book after this, which is coming out March 1st, is Ex-Child Stars, Where Are They Now? And I deal with all the TV child stars from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And there will be a sequel to the 80s, 90s. And what happened to them and why some fell off the right path, some committed suicide, some overdosed, some were able to become a successful lawyer or go into other aspects of entertainment. Ron Howard and Brooke Shields, and they were the success child star. But most of them, there is unfortunately a very kind of bad rate for success for child stars.
Now that the power of television, Family Affair ran 5 seasons, was it? So you were all over the world instantly and in perpetuity. I mean, it's been running in reruns forever, ever since. Has there been any strange fan encounters? I mean, people tend to identify you with that person, and you might have to tell them, I'm not Sissy.
But I am. No. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Another delusion, Mrs. Beasley.
Delusionary she is. That's why this is psychobabble.
That's right.
I did have a minor in psychology at UCLA.
Oh, good.
A little knowledge is a very dangerous thing. So what we're saying?
Well, for instance, Maureen McCormick told me that she met someone who had Marsha Brady tattooed on their arm. Have you met any sissy freakazoids?
You know what I have discovered going on the book tour for Surviving Sissy? I have had so many people come up to me, and it's really on the other side. This one woman came up in tears, and she said, you know what, I had an abusive childhood, and I would tune in to Family Affair, and it was a slice of comfort, and I thank you so much. Other people, I just did a TV interview up here in Chicago, and this woman, Katie, she said, she said, I love that. And she said, you know, there was a message. And she said, I came from just a single mom and where everyone was having a mom and a dad. And here you just had an uncle that took it in. And I said, oh, well, I'm not so strange. After all, there are other family kinds of ties before even Modern Family of people that can get together and have a family and love. Just lately have I been getting maybe some stalkers, and that's because of Facebook.
Yeah, the internet. Oh, yeah, it opens you up to a whole new world of weirdos.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do that, Mike. Did I do that? I didn't do
We're going to promote that. We're going to get you some more weirdos in your corner. Speaking of weirdos in your corner, one of the offshoots that you did an episode of The Dating Game.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Now, again, for the kids who don't remember The Dating Game, where there would be the Bachelorette, there were 3 bachelors that you could not see. You would ask them questions for maybe a whole 10 minutes and then decide who you were going to date.
Right.
How did that go for you?
Well, I did 2 or 3 episodes of that show, and they were appealing because they sent you first class to Europe and different places. So the first one, I chose this young man, and it was for a dating game. You go on a date, this fabulous date. This was before The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, etc.
Right, before you went to the hot tub, you actually went to the date.
Yeah, right, and had dinner first. What a concept. So we went to Rio de Janeiro. We had a chaperone who was 21. I was 22 at the time. So I was chaperoning her. And once we got there, he kind of was more interested in the guys than me, the lady. So, but I had a wonderful time in Brazil, I must say.
So, Kathy Garver, you're writing, you're producing candles, you're doing voiceover work, you're acting. We got any acting gigs coming up? What's
Yes,
going on?
we do. I'm a producer on a movie called Sold that we're doing next year. And that is with Jules Zwick. That was My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm doing another movie called Heaven with a Gun. And we're going to start, it's in the 1800s, and I shoot a gun, and it's, we're going to start that in January. And then I have another one that we started shooting in Chicago called Executive Ranks. It's with Paul Peterson and Joel
From the
Estevez.
Donna Reed show?
Donna Reed. He's one of my really good friends.
Oh, cool,
Paul. Yeah,
cool.
and now that was a success. Child Star.
Right, right.
He's done wonderful things for Child Stars, including Minor Consideration. And this Executive Ranks, it's almost done. But now, since we've been working on it for about 2.5 years, there's so much footage that we might just dice it up and serve it up as a series
cool.
through Netflix. So right now we're getting the throes of that done. Yes.
Awesome. Boy, you have seen, you talk about Netflix, you have seen changes in the industry over the years. Pros and cons. I mean, for one thing, Minor Consideration, kids get paid for their work these days and get residuals and that sort of thing. So what's the downside to the changes in the industry that you know?
Well, I think there's too much content and none of it is very good.
How about that? Yeah, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the
and
head.
I think it's wonderful for creative people to take a camera, and my son now is into photography and not film necessarily, and so it's a good place that people can go on YouTube or people can create something on their own, but it is so much of an informational overload that I think people get stressed.
Right.
And so going back, and some of the things that are done, in my estimation, these days with, graphic murders and violence and abuse and this and that, people don't want to see. They'd like to be entertained. They'd like to have a little bite of comfort food and classic series, and I think that's why all the classic shows do so well, and they continue to do well. MeTV just started a whole new network on Decades saying, look at these things, because there's the audience for it. They want something where people can be cordial to one another and find out about them and see who they are and find a story and not just special effects. So,
and when you're channel surfing at night and Family Affair pops up, do you ever stop and go, oh yeah, I remember that?
Not very often.
Okay.
If just did, because I hate to admit this, it is the 50th anniversary of Family Affair next year. So I did some spots for MeTV.
Okay.
And we're promoting the anniversary, and so I saw some of the ones that they picked that we did like on green screen. I thought, well, who is that? She's so skinny. She's so young.
I hate her.
Yes! No, I want to be her again. I actually don't. Oh, my God. I would like to be myself.
You are pretty much her still. You look great, Kathy.
Thank you.
And you guys can find out about Kathy Garver. You can buy candles, you can get the cookbook. But Surviving Sissy, it's out right now?
It is. I'm very happy to say. Well, first of all, it won the award for Best Nonfiction Book. It's #1 on Amazon for Hollywood history and memoir. Right now, you can get it at my website. Shameful self-promotion, KathyGarver.com, KathyGarver.com. And you can get all these wonderful things.
A whole lot of Kathy Garver going on.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Hi, this is Kathy Garver, and you're watching Psycho Babble TV.